Anagha, you shall kick us off. You've been the most anxious, so please take it away.
I'm Mungeri Lal, a dreamer. All my life, people find ways to mistreat me, abuse me, and just generally bully me because I have a very peculiar lifestyle and manner of living. Let me tell you, I prefer to find loopholes in life. Jugaad, I know the value for anything is higher than I want to pay for it. I talk to people with logic or bother them enough to want them to give up stuff rather than face more banter. I'm cheap and proud. My family's legacy, a grocery store, Swapna Mahal, was bequeathed to me by my father, thanks to the privilege of my birth, Indian birth lottery. My job is to sit at my gaddi at the grocery store and negotiate prices. I know no one can haggle like I. I charge a premium for the best like quality of the products. I prefer the term best like over low quality because people are gullible that way. Success cannot be 100%. An odd man or woman slip through the cracks and haggle better than I do. But my solution is murder. Kill the oppressor more gruesomely than the previous. A dab of poison in their perfume. Oops. A pinch of rusty nails in their bag of rice. Yowza. A little extended foot when they're about to step out of the store. They bang their head and break their skull at the precariously positioned pointy rock at the front. You get the idea. Then I hide the weapons and the bodies. Oh, and I get away every time. Because all of these are mere plots in my head. Eyes shut for a brief second, murder achieved. Wake up converting my scowl with a smile of deep satisfaction. This is the best kept secret for any customer service. To stay happy, get rid of all crappy. I use those methods at every human that irks me, mostly everyone I see or meet, including family at times. For example, a week ago, my father tried to admonish me for sleeping at work. I wasn't sleeping, you know that. I was killing Mrs. Mehra, who haggled for 5 rupees of dhania. I just punched her nose a bit too hard and she fled all the way to heaven. Or hell, I don't judge. But my father asked for it. So I shoved a broken glass vial from one of the perfumes down his throat, moved him to the storage room to avoid attention. I watched him spluttering to death, clawing at his own throat. Silly sod. 2 days ago, my wife nagged me about getting fat sitting on my ass all day. I took her to the river for date night, strangled her with her pallu and pushed her off into the ever-embracing water, imaginary crocodiles feasting on her. But yesterday, my dream took a nightmarish turn. About to whack my mother-in-law with a pan, the police came in. I justified that she asked for it by badgering me about her daughter's whereabouts and wanting to meet my father about it. I didn't know she could hijack my dreams and get cops. They found a floating dead body in the river and one stinking up our grocery store. It has been a longer dream than ever and I'm unable to shake it off. My wife must have garnished my bland dinner with a sleeping pill. I'm imprisoned in this dream until the effect wears off. Any moment now, I will wake up back on my gaddi as someone tries to steal my curry leaves. Maybe when I suddenly vanish, this judge sentencing me will believe in my dreams. Maybe. That's it.
Oh, way to kick us off. Fantastic. Simran.
Okay, my story is titled, Who Died and for Whom? A hot wind started up without warning, as if risen from the bowls of the earth itself. It picked up the desert sand and chunky mud-caked pebbles in swirls around Thitri, as if targeting her in a particular direction. She dared not breathe for fear of clogging up her nostrils. Was this the end? She wondered. The hotel reception had warned her about sudden desert storms, but you had to experience it to know it. Her 28 years under Toronto skies had not prepared her for this. A feisty jinn must surely be leading a wedding procession and carrying everything with it to the netherworld. Covering her face with a kerchief, she headed blindly towards one of those 100 wide canopies that dot this stark desert landscape that she had been photographing since the first rays of the morning sun. She had heard about the site and had seen it first ensconced in the air-conditioned comfort of a soundproof train compartment. The passenger train had slowed down as they covered this stretch of uncanny, surreal energy. The women covered their heads, men folded their hands and bowed their heads in reverence. Babies stopped bawling. and the group of youngsters heading home for the holidays stopped singing their filmy songs with panache. An uncanny energy prevailed, as if the glistering golden sand outside showed no signs of a human imprint. They were passing the Sati Zone, a World Heritage Site protected by the UNESCO. Numerous women had burned themselves in the past on the pyres of their dead husbands. And in turn, they had become goddesses, revered for centuries. Their temples remained untouched even by invaders from other lands. Such was the patriarchal pact across cultures. The woman had to be alive when the flames doused her and consumed her. Her screams must be heard by the villagers gathered there to witness the spectacle of Sati. But these looked different. But these canopies looked different. For one, they were way cleaner than normal Indian temples. No garbage anywhere, no loitering beggars either. This was Dhriti's chosen topic for research. The lives once lived by the Satis of Rajasthan, an anthropology student at the University of Toronto. She was here to record the names and lives lived by Satis when they were mortal women. Villagers had mostly shrugged off her questions despite her addressing them in their language and their dialect. She was told to leave the dead alone. Some tried to scare her with tales of interfering folks, just like herself having vanished without a trace. Would this dust storm ever abate, she wondered, when her eye suddenly caught sight of sand settling on the cement floor in semiotic formation. Tiny letterings became visible. They must have been engraved before the cement could set. It was dated 1684, the time of the Khilji invasions. The sand also showed the imprint of the Sati's hands. Strangely huge hands for a woman, she decided, as she slowly measured it with the imprint of her own hand. But were not Satis always women? Haltingly, she read the lettering. Kamagani, O seeker of truth, know then that the one who lies here was no woman, but a brave heart. A man's screams I heard, though they were drowned out by the pujari's conch and drums. But I heard, and truth must prevail. That's it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. All right. Let's move on to Suman.
The story is titled The Lightning Strike. The tree was split right down the middle, as if a fine knife had sliced through it in one swoop. Wow, imagine the force, I said to her. The sides were singed and barely hanging about the middle. Just a day before, this had been a coconut tree, towering over the villa and spreading its canopy. She picked up a burnt bit from the ground and crushed it in her hand, the soot disintegrating in her palm. You should start a story with this, she said. There's something otherworldly about a lightning strike. My grandmother would have said it's bad luck. It was bad luck for the tree, I said. No smile. I've asked Pratap to come take it down. I don't want a dead tree staring at me after dark. Hey, do you think trees turn into ghosts? I asked. I know some banyans that might, but coconut seems particularly unsuited for the job. Save your humor for an audience. I'm not there, she said, and walked away. I followed her. I was married too long to ignore this. Hey, you okay? I asked her, getting ahead of her. You seem particularly disturbed by this. She looked at the tree. I don't know. There was a lightning strike at home just before Dad's accident. These things bother me. No, don't tell me anything reasonable. I know all that. That burnt stump makes me nervous. Just get rid of it, okay? We'll be gone in an hour, I said. Tell you what, I'll plant some night jasmine there, and in some days there'll be something sweet to smell. Deal? She smiled and held up her thumb. Pratap came with an axe on his shoulder. I watched as he brought down the two halves first. Then he began to cut them into smaller chunks to be able to tie them in bundles. I had an uncle who died by a lightning strike once, he said between swings. Have you ever seen a body that's been hit? I shook my head. It's black. The smell of burnt hair all around it. I still remember the petrified look in his eyes when we turned the body over, frozen in the moment, glaring at you like it had seen something awful. I didn't need that image in my head. First a dark mood and now this. So I just told him, I want you to dig up the stump and plant something there. I left him to go look for a potted night jasmine. These things mattered. Images in my head mattered. And they had a habit of turning up when I least expected them. I tried not to indulge these by checking on the health of the plants. That's when Pratap came running breathless behind me. I think you need to say this. We might need to call the police. And a minute later, there was a wild scream. I knew that voice and I ran towards her. That's it.
Very good. Very good. Might I suggest the rose garden, sir? I took a moment, a deep breath, and then another moment. Are you suggesting that we conceal the body of Mrs. Clarington, wife of a member of the House of Lords, in a bed of Winchester Cathedral roses? Wife of an ex-member, sir. She's a widow. And yes, sir, I am, sir. To what end, Montague? To what end? And dare you say fertilizer? You shall be seeking an alternate employment faster than you can utter the word decomposition. His woolly eyebrows arched, much as they did when I was a child and misbehaved to challenge his authority. Certainly not, sir. I suggested the rose garden simply because it's adjacent to the kitchen door. Or perhaps sir would rather that I dragged the corpse through the dinner party? Would you prefer the procession before or after the salmon mousse? Do not be flip with me, my dear Montague. This is, after all, your fault. And one should own up to one's own blunders, shouldn't one? If I may speak with candor, sir, I'm failing to see the connection. Not for lack of contemplation, I assure you. But how would it be that an expired guest at your gala event falls at my feet? Figuratively, of course, as she has clearly fallen in the tub. And she had. Face down in my 18th century clawfoot roll rim, her buttocks arched high in the air and her legs dangling. Thank the good Lord in heaven for her flower-patterned ankle-length chiffon. It could have been a far more gruesome sight. Montague, I said through a long and strenuous exhale. Sir, as head butler, is it not your duty to oversee the smooth operations of this manor? It is. And would that include the running of the kitchen? It would. Ah, well then, could we press those duties would also include ensuring the kitchen staff was fully aware of our guests' dietary needs? He answered by running a finger around the inside crisp white collar of his shirt, which suddenly seemed to constrict his breath, and a nod. Very well. Then I am certain the kitchen staff was fully informed of the widow Clarington's fish allergy. May I ask, what was the amuse-bouche this evening? Pickled herring, sir. I see. And can I assume Mrs. Clarington partook? She does seem rather bloated, sir. An unfortunate miscalculation on my part. I kicked the tub in frustration and her shoe fell off. Miscalculation, I expelled through clenched teeth. Yes, a regrettable situation, sir, no doubt. I shall fire the chef and most of the waitstaff and reprimand myself severely in the morning to rectify it. But for now, will sir allow me to attend to this so sir may return to his guests? I nodded. The rose garden? I nodded again. But do it quickly if you please. Others may need the loo. Of course, sir. Good help was so hard to find, but on nights such as this, Montague proved that I had. So there you go. Small attempt at humor in a murder mystery. All right, then. Thank you, Suman. Arijit, would you like to narrate Leena's? Unfortunately, she wanted desperately to be here, but couldn't make it this evening. So Arijit's graciously agreed to narrate her story.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, it's a privilege to read her work, which I have read it already, just to do justice to her story in the form of narration. But yeah, okay. Here we go. All right. Let me just get the story. All right. I hope I'm audible, right? Okay. Cool. Awesome. 7 years back, the Amazon delivery guy deposited a parcel on my doorstep. I remember trying to recall if I ordered anything. It had my name and address, but no return address. Puzzled, I tore open the package. Inside was a book, old and musty, its pages creased with age. The leather cover was lined and in some parts grainy to the touch. Curious, I opened the book. The first page said, "This book contains the story of your life." I scoffed, yet couldn't hold back from reading the first chapter. After that, I stopped scoffing, my fingers trembling as I put down the book. Everything in it was true. So I did what I believe anyone would have. I skipped to the end. Sitting in the police station, her husband is informed that she has taken her life by slitting her wrists. I gasped. I just dropped the book like it burned me. I should have burned it. I didn't. I hid it between my saris. At night when the world was asleep, I would still read it. The book wasn't just a true copy of every thought and conversation I had. It detailed the same for the people around me. For the first time, I understood why my best friend stopped speaking to me, or why my father-in-law looked so beaten in life. It felt strange, like I had never known the people I lived with until now. Yet, knowing their demons, I could appreciate and forgive them. The biggest surprise, though, was my husband and how flawed and damaged he was. Yet I fell more in love with him. As my story progressed within those yellowed pages, I felt a sense of gratitude. In her mind, she was thankful that she could see her life in a new light. She didn't understand why the book came into her life. She didn't care. She was too steeped in gratitude. About halfway through, I came to my pregnancy. I didn't want to read further. I knew what it would say: a complicated pregnancy, labor pains, and a baby boy was born with defects. He lived for 3 years, 3 days, and then slept forever. Shoving the book back into the confines of my cupboard, I kept it there for years. I don't know why I picked it up again, but I did and started reading it. I announced my pregnancy. There was a beautiful baby shower. My husband and I made the cliche pregnancy reel. I flipped the pages. My husband smiled, but he was unhappy. He started slipping things into my food. He wanted me to miscarry. I flipped the pages. In the hospital, my husband stood over the crib. He smothered our child. I flipped the pages. The doctor believed I had killed my child, but had no evidence. I flipped the pages. The last chapter. My husband found the book. I flipped to the very last page. My husband is standing outside the bedroom with a blade in his hand. Thank you very much.
Very new genre, and I was amazed at the diversity and the different types of stories that came out just under the label of mystery. So I thought that was a brilliant effort by everyone, seriously.